Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV 24/7. My name is Kitty Bahel. A new show, Dabba Cartel, with a women-centric theme is out on Netflix and it's getting a lot of attention. And of course, garnering a lot of praise as well. We have the cast as well as the creator of the show here on the broadcast with us. Shabana Azmi, the legendary actor with us here on the broadcast, playing the role of Sheila Bain. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being with us here on the broadcast. We also have Jyotika. I believe your character is of somebody who's juggling between home and work in this show. Right. All right. We have Shubhani Akhtar as well, who's the creator of the show as well as the producer of the show. Thank you so much for all my guests for being with us here on the broadcast. Ma'am, if I could come to you first. You know, my first question, of course, is to you is what drew you to the character of Sheila Bain? I mean, I believe you've given, of course, several hits in the Indian cinema, and once you take up a script, you go through it extensively, I mean, before you take up any role. But what was it that drew your attention, or was it the Bahu factor that you...
I was pulled by my ear by my Bahu.
Okay.
And she said, you have to do this, no more information. And then it was being produced by Farhan, so you think I had a choice in the matter. But jokes apart,
yeah.
It's the character itself. It was different from the characters I've been doing in recent times. And I thought she had many layers that could be unraveled. She comes as an almost nondescript woman. And then suddenly you realize that she's a very strong past. And then when that comes to the fore, then you can see that she is the brains behind the group. Right. So it had many layers, and that's what excited me about it.
But have you actually enjoyed playing the role? I mean, yes, you're saying it's a very interesting character, and we've all loved it. I mean, it's already out on OTT, and so many people have already watched it. You're getting a lot of praise and, you know, positive reactions also, of course, on social media. You personally enjoyed playing the role of Sheila Bain?
Yes, very much so. Because, you know, I had to play her like an almost nondescript person who speaks very little, and then when she comes on, by her accent and the way
yes.
she behaves, you know that there is something more to her than meets the eye. And then you see, oh my God, there's another layer to her, and what is that? It keeps getting unraveled. And of course, for an actor to be able to play a part that allows you a lot of leeway to bring in your interpretation. And I was working with a group of actors who I have the highest regard from. Some of them I'd worked with earlier, some of them were completely new.
Right.
But discovering them through the process of working in this was delightful.
All right, we'll delve into your character a little bit more in just a bit. Let me go across to Shubhani here. Shubhani, you're a first-time producer, I believe, and you're also the creator of the show. How did this idea really come to you that you wanted to make something, you know, a show that is, you know, about women in crime?
Well, actually, that was the idea itself. I knew I wanted to make something that was female-led.
Right.
And I felt as though I'm a huge crime drama fan, and I felt like the world of crime drama was kind of filled with men. And lacking in terms of female-led crime drama content. So that was the goal, was to create a show like that. I thought India was such a beautiful palette to play with in terms of different regions in the country, different areas. When we kind of zeroed in on Thane, that just felt like such a lovely backdrop to create this housing society. And I think the quirk of adding the Dabba business was a really nice touch in terms of something that's very kind of Indian.
Right.
I also felt as though women who weren't from a world of crime was a nice layer to add, rather than them being thrust into this world or coming from this world. I think the idea of taking them there through the journey was a more interesting way to do it, so that we could kind of see them before, we could see them after, we could see where they're from, you know, what their community is, what their environment is, and then how they change and how the world that they live in potentially changes forever.
Right. Also, I've been reading about it a little, that you've written this, I mean, when you were creating the show, it was during the COVID times that you were actually, or preparing for the script and all. You must have shown the script to Farhan also. How was his reaction at first?
I didn't actually show it to him.
Okay.
We worked on it during the lockdown. We were in a writer's room via Zoom during the lockdown. It was a very tough room to navigate, given that we hadn't done this before. The writers, this is the first show that they have written, Vishnu Menon and Bhavna Kher. This is the first show that I have created. So it was a very new space to kind of navigate, especially via Zoom during COVID. I had shown this idea to Qasim Jagmagia, who's a producer at Excel, purely to ask his advice on how to register something like this. I think the idea of making it hadn't even kind of crossed my mind. I thought this is a very new thing. I don't even know how far it's going to go. And when he read it, he loved it. He called me immediately and said, I love the idea. Please go ahead and register it, but please do not give it to anybody else, because I would like to show it to Ritesh and Farhan and see if they would like to produce it. At which point I started to panic because I had not told Farhan about it. And I was very apprehensive and very nervous about what he would think about it. But he read it, I think, maybe a couple of weeks later, and I didn't know that he was in the process of reading it. We only spoke after he finished reading it, and I still remember his face when he was telling me what he thought of it. It was a pretty big deal.
What was his reaction?
He said he absolutely loved it.
He loved it.
Yeah,
okay.
He loved it.
Okay, so it was okay. After Farhan, then you went to maybe Javed Saab and showed him the script?
So I actually told my father-in-law about it when he wasn't my father-in-law during the lockdown. I had told him about the idea because Shabana knew I was working on the idea. And she had very casually mentioned it to him and said, do you know that Shabani is working on this idea? So he said, tell me a little bit about it. I gave him a one-liner. And unknown to both of them, we had already decided that we wanted Shabana for Sheila, the main. She was the only cast member that we had decided on, but neither of them knew about it. So when I told him about the one-liner, I still remember where we were sitting, and he turned to Shabana and he said, you have your cast member right here. And I remember running to the room and calling the writer's room and telling them about it, because it was just surreal, because they had no idea that actually, yes, we want Shabana for this
But
for the
there's
show.
a question that arises in my head, considering we were spending so much time during the lockdown together as a family, then what was it about me that inspired you that maybe this is the right character for her? Why didn't you think of me as a nice, sweet, loving,
mother-in-law character, I guess. Typical, I think, the mother-in-law character, or maybe that thing that comes to your mind.
No, actually, look, it's not connected at all.
Yes.
In fact, it's just, I don't know if it's coincidence or if it was written in the stars or whatever it is, that years down the line, Shabana ended up becoming my mother-in-law. But when I was younger, I used to watch Masoom on repeat.
Right.
And it was my connection with Indian cinema. And so for me, Shabana Azmi and Nasruddin Shah were everything. It was that was my big connection to Indian cinema. So it wasn't that I had put Shabana Azmi on a whiteboard because she was my mother-in-law or because she was now family. It was actually years, I think, in the making. And I knew that I wanted to make a show with her before I even really knew what that show was going to be.
Okay, and you're making a first show with Shabana Azmi.
Yeah, and before I even knew what the character was going to be, to be honest. But I knew I wanted to give her that. I wanted to give her power. I wanted her to have this tigress kind of attitude. I knew I wanted to see her in that light.
She's actually roaring in her character, in the
is.
show. Yes, Jyotika, I want to come to you before I go to Shabana ji again. Jyotika, you're playing the role of a woman who's juggling between her marital life as well as trying to balance her, her family with business. A lot of Indian women do that, on a daily basis. A lot of women have to go through that. Have you been somehow able to relate to the character, and how also has it been for you working in Hindi industry after a gap of about 25 years, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah. So Varuna has a lot of me in it, and every other woman, like you said, so absolutely relatable. because I've also been a working woman who's married, quit for a while, got back to my job. So it was very easily, in fact, I was telling Shibani that I've done so many roles, but I somehow relate to Varuna a lot. And I just love the way the scenes were written. They were so real. There's a fight in the series, and I felt the fight was also just like husband-wife fight at home. There was nothing, like no feministic debate or nothing artificial about
I
it.
hope Surya's not listening to this interview.
Yeah, we also not.
Yeah, so Varuna was something I think we all connect to. There's a little bit of everyone in her. And returning to Hindi films, yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know why there was, I think, a huge gap.
Right.
But I think it's only now in the past 5-7 years that the whole, as we say, pan-India, we are mingling the whole North and South. And the OTT world is bringing everyone together also. So it's a great opening. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, so Jyotika, what do you think? How important is it really for films or shows like these to be made around women-centric themes, or female characters as lead characters, lead actors in them, or protagonists in the show? You worked in the South industry, of course, as you've been saying for a long time, and you're still associated there. Do you think there is any learning that the South also can take from the Hindi film industry?
I think there's a learning in both the industries have to take from each other. I'd say, there are a lot of female-driven characters there and here. I've done some of my finest work there, and there's nothing to complain. But saying that, yeah, it's always a welcome to have more stories to tell about women, because we still have to grow in that area. There's a big growth right now, but I feel there's a lot more to be told. And yeah, something like Dabba Cartel for sure, because women in the crime scene is a bit rare. And crime scene shown with dignity and authority, I think it's a great combo.
Right.
And in no way inspirational or aspirational, just...
Yeah.
Okay. Shabanaji, if I could come back to you, how does really OTT work for you? I mean, you've given a lot of hits in the Indian cinema, and OTT, of course, is not something... is of course new for a lot of people these days, of course. But how does that really work out for you?
Well, given that I've just spent 2 years with Steven Spielberg on Halo, I'd become more familiar with it. There's some stuff that I've done in UK also, but it works differently, definitely, because it's episodic. And sometimes what happens is you are doing episode 2, and suddenly, because the locale is the same, you're suddenly made to do episode 7, which can be quite disconcerting. But for me, the best thing about this was we have the same director throughout, and that's very, very comforting. Because otherwise, like in Halo, we had 3 different directors, and that can get a bit rattling. But I would like to rise up to every challenge that is available. I don't want to get fixed into, all right, so I'm from film, but I also did theatre, I did television, now I'm doing the OTT. And I think it is definitely opening up the space for characters which are not, in that sense, the hero and the heroine. You can be the lead parts, but they don't have to be defined in just a pretty face and a young thing.
Absolutely.
So I think what it gives a chance to actors of my age is it gives you a chance to extend your career. Because otherwise there was a time, particularly in Hindi films, where the minute you turn 30, it was crossed. There was no possibility. So the fact is that she's not a heroine in the conventional sense, and yet she's the protagonist. She turns it is obviously good. I think that is definitely a change for the better.
I would also like to talk about the challenges, of course, you must have faced while you were writing for the show, creating the show during COVID times also. Any challenges if Shabanaji would have faced, I am not really sure about that. Shabanaji, of course, has been doing this since a long time. But yes, Shabani, what about you? Any challenges that you think you must have faced while you were producing this show?
I'm not sure if they necessarily have to do with the time that we were creating the show, which was the pandemic. But I think the challenges were more to do with being a first-time creator
Right.
and experiencing the journey in a very new way. There are so many different aspects to show making. It's such a collaborative experience. You're putting everything that you have into it emotionally, mentally, and physically. It takes time. You're almost birthing a child and growing it together with a group of people.
Right.
And those experiences are so new and so difficult to deal with sometimes because of the lack of experience, actually. So when you're used to working as a host in front of the camera, when you're used to doing a job that you are so comfortable with, doing something new is always challenging when it's challenging you.
Right.
But I knew that I wanted to do it because I needed something that was kind of feeding my soul in a way, and I found this, and it's something that really kind of resonated with me.
Okay, and now you are also a part of a family that's not just family of actors, but also writers. Also, you're also in the writers' club now. So the creators' club, if I would say. But does it add more weight on your shoulders?
Absolutely. I think that for a large period of time when we were creating this show, I don't think that my new family even knew about it apart from Farhan. There's so much that when you're in this environment with whether it's both my mothers-in-law, my sister-in-law, my husband, my father-in-law, Tanvi, who's Shabana's sister-in-law, my aunt, I guess. It's you're in and Baba. You're in a room filled with people who are so great at what they do. They're not just good at what they do, they're great at what they do. And that can be incredible for absorbing and for learning, but it can also be very daunting. And it can also, in some way, add on the pressure to be as good or to meet a certain expectation or be in a certain bracket.
Yes.
There were many days where I had to shrug that off because the fear would set in that what if it's not good enough, or what if I'm not as good as them? But I learned along the way that you can either use it to drive you or it can kind of pull you back.
Take you back, yeah.
And with anything in this business, there will be hits and misses. But I think the greatest thing for me and being around this new family of mine has been the opportunity to really listen and learn. Because so much of the conversations are centered around the business and filmmaking and art. And you can sit in that room and just observe and learn so much as I have over the years.
All right. So Shabana ji, both Jyotika and Shibani have spoken about this issue about women as main characters, as protagonists in a show or cinema. You've also been speaking about it in the starting that, how in this show also you all 5 women have been supporting each other, standing up for each other. How important is it in today's world?
You see, I think it is very important. I think women-centric stories are important in themselves because they're fairly invisible. If you see, the kind of women you've seen on the screen are really playing stereotypical characters about the sacrificing wife, the forgiving mother, the loving sister, etc., etc. And women have so much more to them. But it took a while for us to reach that conclusion because then we did that, and then in the I keep saying that, main chup rahungi was considered a virtue. And then in the 80s, we sort of took a leap, but didn't go the right way, because first we had male stereotypes, and then we had female stereotypes that were only imitating the males. So first we had Rambos, and then we had Rambolinas, but we didn't have any in-depth understanding of what women really are. And I think that with the new OTT, particularly in the kind of films that are being made, you are getting a chance to explore that. And given that we really have done most of our work with the male gaze, it is important to have the female gaze. And I think there's also a mistake. People think that female gaze means you have to make a film only about women, but that's not true at all.
Right.
Because you can do, how do you view, what is your lens? You can make a thriller, you can make a comedy, you can make a romantic film. It's the gaze. And that gaze needs to be included, particularly in the arts, I feel.
Absolutely, you've rightly pointed that out. There are a lot of genres to pick from. It's not just about what you said, either you have to focus on a romantic film or a comedy film. Of course, thrillers like these also work a lot, work the best, I'm sure. But, okay, if I can, talk about the, Dabba thing. The Dabba thing is, of course, Mumbai's local thing. And also, a huge chunk of Mumbai depends on the Dabba service.
Absolutely.
Any memory that you have with your own Dabba? I'm not sure if any, anybody from here would have opted for a Dabba service in Mumbai, but any memory that you have, maybe you must have taken a tiffin to your school or something.
It's always fascinating for me to have watched how the distribution service works, and there's never a glitch. It never goes wrong, and it's really, really quite impressive. Now, so when I used to travel by train to school and to college, I used to see this happening.
Okay.
I didn't ask for Dabba, but I knew what it was all about, and it's so quintessential Mumbai that to put that as the center of what these women are doing, I thought it was exciting.
What about you, Jyotika? What memories does the Dabba, the quintessential Dabba, bring for you?
I think it's mostly school, and then after that my phase in the south where the shooting dabbas were very exciting. I think it's so exciting. We never swiggied or ordered food from anywhere. The dabbas were delicious, like down south. So dabbas is South Indian food for me, actually.
Okay. Any memory that you have, Shubhani?
No, unfortunately,
really.
I have memories only of a lunchbox.
Of a lunchbox.
Australia, so the whole Dabba thing was very new for me.
Okay. So, all right. I also have some reactions that have come in on social media, what people are really saying about the show. Shubhani, on social media, fans are saying that the show is 10 out of 10 and you must bring on season 2. What are the plans?
I mean, that's always lovely to hear. And I think if we've created a show where we leave people wanting more, that's the ultimate goal. The fact that they've consumed the entire season, enjoyed it, are looking forward to what's happening next is such a great feeling. So to that I say...
But do you want to?
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't want to?
Yes.
Who doesn't want to continue?
Okay. All right. Shabanaji fans are also saying Sheila Bain has given a totally kadak performance and she totally deserves her own show. Would you like to do such kind of shows, such thrillers, playing such characters in the future as well?
No, why the same characters? I would like to play mirrored characters. I wouldn't like to repeat any character at all. But I really do think that what is special about Sheila Bain is that she fits into an atmosphere where, there's no hierarchy in that sense. Every woman's tale is being told in its own way, and then they're all coming together. So that for me is very important.
Okay. Jyotika, what's your favorite genre been? And, before I'm going to wrap this show, of course, what's been the favorite thing for you in this show? And what about your future plans? I really want to know. You've made an entry into the Hindi industry after a long gap, and we would absolutely love to watch you in the future as well.
Well,
what are your
plans? The amount of praise Jyotika has got, I'm sure she's going to be flooded with a lot of Hindi offers.
Yes.
I have no plans. I've never planned my whole journey in the film line also. My first Hindi film didn't do well, so I just drifted to the south. And again, back here was something I didn't expect. So I just want to believe that I'm a river and I just want to flow. I don't want to be a mountain just standing there, tall and trying to top and overlook everything. I just want to be a river and flow. And that's the plan that let's just
That's a very lovely
keep
thing
flowing.
you said. All right. All right, Shabana ji as well as Jyotika, before we are going to wrap this show, any message for your viewers there? A lot of people, of course, have watched the show already. But
Those
if I could
who
start
haven't
with you.
watched it,
Yes.
that's my message.
Yes. Jyotika, from you.
It's a fabulous show. It's something different. It's what every woman will resonate with. There's a character for every woman to connect to in this. So please go ahead and watch it.
Shubhani.
I would say thank you to everybody that has watched. The amount of love that you have shown is incredible, and it's just so beautiful to see after all the hard work and effort that we've put into it. For those of you that haven't seen it, please do go and watch it. And again, just thank you to the entire cast and crew for this incredible opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amana ji, Jyotika, and Shubhani for being with us here on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.